Attention! I am looking for bigger bikes to feature on the show as well, so if you have a bigger bike, 125cc or bigger, it doesn't matter if it's a dirt bike, Supermoto, a Honda Grom, a pit bike or a stunt bike, anything goes on the show. So send it in to the email address snTbikeshow@gmail.com, and maybe you will see your bike on a future episode of the bike show. But that's all I had to say. Let's get into the show. Yo, what's up? It's SNT and you're watching the bike show. This is the weekly series where we check out some of your amazing bike builds that you have submitted to the show. We have an email address that's down in the description and on the screen right now. And if you have not already, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss a future video. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and at the end, let me know in the comment section down below which bike was your favorite. But now, let's get into the first bike of the day, which is a Stage 6 77cc Aprilia SX50. He bought the bike stock and right away he got a aerosol 70cc cylinder and a Technigas Inox exhaust. After a while the 70cc cylinder gave up and he wanted to upgrade it once again, so he got a aerosol 80cc cylinder and a 21mm carburetor, but after a while he got tired of the engine setup and he wanted more power in the bike. So he ended up building a high-end engine build which includes a Stage 6 77 big racing cylinder, Metrakit Pro Racing crankshaft, Stage 6 28mm PWK carburetor, Malossi VL18 reed valve, Stage 6 RT intake manifold, MVT 1890 racing clutch, Voca Cross 1890 exhaust, MVT Digital Direct inner rotor ignition, and with a 1553 gearing, it does about 125 kilometers an hour. And he also added a few visual tuning parts to really take the looks of this bike to the next level, including a V-face headlight, a Artec front fender, and a custom 3D printed flywheel cover, which once again looks really good. I really like the fact when you got a nice 3D printed flywheel cover to go with your inner rotor ignition. We had it on the last episode as well, and it looks so good on a motor when you have 3D printed custom covers. There's not a lot more to be said about this bike. It's a really clean bike with a powerful engine setup. I assume it's really fun to ride, so thank you so much for sending it in to the SNT Bike Show. Next up we have a 72cc Aprilia SX50 from Finland. If we start with the engine, it is built with an aerosol 72cc cylinder, Voca Warrior 5070 exhaust, 21mm carburetor, Borkit reed valve, Borkit intake manifold, Malossi air filter, Stage 6 racing clutch, and with a 1458 gearing, it does about 90 kilometers an hour on GPS. And in terms of looks, this bike also has a few visual tuning parts, which includes a red V-face headlight, upside down forks, timeless fat bar with a red Voca bar pad, red grips, black seat cover, tinted headlight, and he also removed a few parts of the graphics kit to really give it a more aggressive look on the bike without getting a new graphics kit, which did so much for the bike. Before it was the red, white and green color scheme, but removed all the green decals on this bike to give it a more clean look with just the radiator shroud graphics and the V-face graphics, which looks so good on this bike. I don't know, it just completely transformed the bike without doing too much to the bike. It looks so good. I really like the way that the red complements the white in the back. It's such a cool color combo. And I also like how you have graphics in some places and other places don't. And I also like the fact that you removed parts of the radiator shroud graphics that were green, and you left the red, white and black ones, which looks so good on this bike. Fits this bike perfectly, and I wouldn't have thought like that removing parts of a graphics kit would look cool, but it does look really good, especially on this bike. I really like the way it is right now. It's just clean, simple, but still really cool and unique. It looks really good with that underbody exhaust, that V-face headlight, and those stock graphics on there. Looks so good on this bike. I don't really have anything more to say than thank you so much for sending it in to the SNT Bike Show. Moving on, we have another Aprilia SX50, but this one is from Denmark. This bike has gone through an insane transformation. He bought it as a really worn out moped in really bad condition, and then he completely rebuilt the bike and transformed it into the beauty it is today. And some of the biggest visual changes that were made to this bike includes a V-face headlight, TNT front fender, Voca racing fat bar, TMX seat cover, and a Rockstar graphics kit to really just make this bike really cool, and damn, that made a huge difference to this bike. He also did a pretty powerful engine build, which includes a top performance 80cc cylinder, 21mm carburetor, stage 6 reed valve, Voca racing clutch, Voca racing carbon 1890 exhaust, and a 1453 gearing. This bike has gone through an insane transformation from the clapped SX50 it was in the beginning to the beauty it is today, with a powerful engine setup, good looks, everything you want in a moped. This is definitely a beauty. You did a great job with this bike. Thank you so much for sending it in to the SNT bike show. Now we finally have a bike that's not an SX50, and this one is a Beta RR50 from Sweden. It started out as a pretty generic Beta RR, but then it got a few parts that completely transformed the look of this bike, and those parts include a Airsoil 70cc cylinder, unrestricted exhaust, KTM EXE headlight, eBay seat cover, red spoke skins, Style Pro front fender, and a graphics kit to tie the entire bike together and give it a really nice look. I really like the way this bike turned out. I like everything from the graphics kit and the KTM headlight, giving it a more modern and updated look. And I also like the tuning parts you got on this bike, including the Airsoil 70cc sport cylinder, unrestricted stock exhaust, and 1151 gearing. It's a perfect balanced stunt setup if you want to do like cool stunts and stuff like that. It's really nice for circle wheelies and stuff like that. It's a really fun bike overall to ride. I feel like with this setup, it's a perfect stunt setup for anyone looking for a good stunt setup. Definitely a really well executed bike, looks really good, and it's always fun to see a beta on the show. So thank you so much for sending it in to the SNT bike show. Last but not least, we have a Rayo MRT from Norway. He bought the bike completely stock, but then he wanted to put his own touch on it, so he got a stage 6 graphics kit, wheel decals, and a 24MX seat cover. He also tuned the engine quite a bit with an Airsoil T6 cylinder, Technigas Inox Evo exhaust, and a 21mm Delorto carburetor. I know Rayo MRTs get a lot of hate because they're really slow mopeds when they're stock, but it's just such a nice bike. It looks really good. It's a really cool platform to do some crazy builds on. And also, look at that space over the engine, between the engine and the frame or fuel tank. It's so much space to work on the engine. It's just, for someone who has built a lot of mopeds, worked on a lot of mopeds, this is something I always appreciate about the Rayos, because they always have a lot of space between the engine and the frame, so you have a lot of space to work on the bike when it's still in one piece. Like if you're just gonna do a top end rebuild, or you're gonna change the spark plug, or maybe you're gonna tune your carburetor a little bit, having that much space between the frame and the engine is so nice on a bike like this, so you can really access everything and just be able to work on it. Just so easy. And if you're tuning your bike or you're working on your bike consistently, you know the pain of like having to take everything off to be able to access your top end or something like that. And it's so nice on a bike like this where you can just, work on the engine a little bit and just have this space there, not have anything in the way. I think that's really nice, and it's something to really appreciate about Rayo, that they always kept this since the 90s, because a lot of bikes had this back in the day, but now when the bikes get a lot more slimmer and smaller and stuff like that to really fit into the current theme, they kind of sacrifice the space over the engine. But I'm glad Rayo kept it, and I also like the fact you got both Supermoto and Enduro wheels for this bike, so that's always really nice to see when you can switch between them and it have a multi-purpose bike. But overall, it's a really cool bike. Thank you so much for sending it in to the SNT bike show. But that was the 5 amazing bikes from this week's bike show. Remember to send your bike in to sntbikeshow@gmail.com. I'm specifically looking for bigger bikes, 125cc or bigger, pit bikes, Grom, Supermoto, dirt bikes, stunt bikes, sport bikes. Everything goes. Make sure you send it even to the show. Maybe you will see your bike on a future episode of the bike show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you do not miss a future video. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And as always, it's been SNT, and I'll see you in the next one.